Hello everyone, this is SC once again, SC of your routine, that is Shubham Chaudhary. Now, in the last video, I started talking about Charles Lamb and his essay Dream Children. In this video, I'm going to address a question that was raised by some students in the class before the lockdown. I think that was the last class where you raised that question. So, some of you asked whether Dream Children could be seen as a short story, or why Dream Children could not be seen as a short story. Because Dream Children is a short text that offers a story, and it also has fictional characters, just like any short story apparently. So why Dream Children could not be seen as a short story? That was your question. Now, at the very beginning, when I first said in the class that I was going to teach you Charles Lamb and his essays this year or in this semester, I recommended this book to you, which is called 8 Essayists. Now, if you check page number 194 of that book, you already have an answer given to that question. Okay, now this is how it goes in the book. I'm reading from that book from page number 194. So it goes like this: the personal essay may be distinguished from the short story in two significant ways. In the first place, the short story has a well-knit plot, leaving little scope for digressive passages. The personal essay, on the other hand, may contain a number of episodes written in a rambling style. More importantly, the personal mode is specifically designed for the revelation of the personality of the essayist. This, however, is not the main objective of the short story. So here you get two answers to that question. Okay, so let us focus on the first answer first. Okay, so what is that? A short story has a well-knit plot, whereas a personal essay may have, let's say, a rambling style with digressive passages, which may not qualify as a plot. So, to simplify the point for us, in short story you have a plot, a tightly constructed plot, whereas in a personal essay there is no plot as such. Okay, so what is plot? That is our first question. That is what we have to deal with first. Now, as I said already in the class, when you first raised the question, plot had to be understood by distinguishing it from story. Okay, it is a quite common place to distinguish plot from story. So what is the difference between a plot and a story? You can simply say that story is the raw material which has the potential to produce a plot. Okay, in other words, a story unfolds the events chronologically. That means following the time sequence. Okay, whereas a plot arranges the events going beyond that constraints of chronology to elicit the desired emotional response from the readers. So again, to simplify this point for you, story simply presents the events following the original time sequence. So it begins at the beginning and ends at the ending. Okay, so it follows the original time sequence. It follows the chronology of events, whereas a plot is an artistic recreation of the original storyline. It is an artistic arrangement of that original story to produce a particular effect, produce a particular emotional effect in the reader. Here, if we take a look at a couple of examples from E.M. Forster's Aspects of the Novel, the difference between story and plot will be clearer to you. So, M. Foster says in that text, the king died and the queen died is a story. I'm quoting from the text. Okay, the king died and the queen died is a story. But the queen died, no one knew why until it was discovered that it was through grief at the death of the king. This is a plot with a mystery in it. Again, I read that from the text. I'm quoting from that text. Okay, so the queen died, no one knew why until it was discovered that it was through grief at the death of the king. This is a plot with a mystery in it. So that's the difference. These two examples show the difference between a story and a plot. Okay, how you make a plot out of a story. Now here Foster puts some emphasis on causality as something that governed that particular arrangement of the events in a plot. If you go back to that example which I just mentioned, you will see how the plot was created from the story on the basis of causality. The king died and the queen died. That was the basic story. But the queen died and nobody knew why. So you're looking for a cause here. Nobody knows why the queen died suddenly. And then it was discovered that the king had already died, and it is because of that grief. So here it is the cause behind the death of the queen that on the basis of that you rearrange the events. Okay, first to mention the death of the queen, which actually happened later. So you are rearranging the events on the basis of what? On the basis of cause and effect. Okay, so first you mention the effect. The death of the queen was the effect, and the death of the king already before that was the cause. Cause of what? Cause of the queen's death. So it is on the basis of causality that you could rearrange the events and create a plot out of a simple story. The Russian formalists, however, did not put that emphasis on causality, although they maintained that difference between story and plot in their own terms. So when you try to define plot, you have to define it by distinguishing this from story. Now the question is, in Dream Children, whether we have only a basic story or something like a plot. So what do you have in Dream Children? Let's take a look at that. So the essay begins like this. Children love to listen to stories about their elders when they were children, to stretch their imagination to the conception of a traditionally great uncle or grandam whom they never saw. It was in this spirit that my little ones crept about me the other evening to hear about their great grandmother Field, who lived in a great house in Norfolk. So the essay begins like this. Okay, so it says that the children generally love to hear stories about the distant past to stretch their imagination, and it was in this way that Lamb's children approached him the other evening to hear stories about their great grandmother Field. And then throughout the essay, the story of that great grandmother Field develops. Okay, Lamb says a lot of things to his children about that great grandmother Field. Now let's take a look at the ending. They looked up and prayed me not to go on about their uncle, but to tell them some stories about their pretty dead mother. Then I told how for 7 long years, in hope sometimes in despair, yet persisting ever, I quoted the fair Alice. And as much as children could understand, I explained to them what coinage and difficulty and denial meant in maidens. When suddenly, turning to Alice, the soul of the first Alice looked out at her eyes with such a reality of re-presentment that I became in doubt which of them stood there before me, or whose that bright hair was. And while I stood gazing, both the children grew gradually fainter to my view. Now, focus on this ending. This is where suddenly you have a twist. Okay? And while I stood gazing, both the children grew gradually fainter to my view, receding and still receding, till nothing at last but two mournful features were seen in the uttermost distance, which, without speech, strangely impressed upon me the effects of speech. We are not of Alice, nor of thee, nor are we children at all. The children of Alice call Bertram father. We are nothing, less than nothing, and dreams. We are only what might have been, and must wait upon the tedious shores of Lethe millions of ages before we have existence and a name. And immediately awaking, I found myself quietly seated in my bachelor armchair, where I had fallen asleep. So suddenly at the end, the entire story collapses. The story that you believed you had been following so far, and you find yourself faced with another story. Now, probably you didn't realize that you already had two layers of stories until you reach the end of the essay. What story do you find in the essay? Lamb's children want to hear stories, and Lamb tells them a story. This is the basic story that you find in the essay. Lamb's children want to hear stories, and Lamb tells them a story. Now, the story that is told by Lamb to his children, that story is already a second story within the first story, isn't it? So, if you combine these two layers, what you get is a story of storytelling. That is how you can put it. Okay. Now, when you read literature, when you read, let's say, a novel or a drama, you don't look at the story as something unreal. Okay. You don't look at the story as a story. You don't look at the you don't read the story as a fiction. You believe in the fiction for that time. Okay. When you read, in order to enjoy the story, you have to willingly suspend your disbelief in the story as a story, and you have to believe that the story is real, as if what you are reading is real. And that is how you experience real emotions for the fictional characters. That is how you get caught up in the story, and thus you enjoy the story. If a character in that novel tells a story to another character, then that second story is presented to the reader as a story. So, while you follow the second story, the story told by a character in the novel, for example, to be a story, nothing more than a story, you follow the main story of the novel in such a way as if it is real. In Dream Children, when you start reading the text and you get caught up in the narrative, you follow the main story in such a way as if it is real, that Lamb's children approached him to hear stories, and therefore Lamb tells them a story. In order to enjoy the story, you do believe in this as if it is real. However, the story that Lamb tells his children, you follow that story as a story told by Lamb to his children. Okay? And it is with this belief that you read the entire essay until you reach the end, where this belief that you followed till the end of the essay is simply taken away from you, where you find yourself faced with another story. Okay, a story that turns the earlier first story to be the second story and the earlier second story to be a third story. Am I making sense here? Let me repeat this logical development for you once again. So at first I said that before you reached the end of the essay, you already had two layers of stories in the essay. The essay offered two layers of stories. So what was the first layer of story that you found in the essay? Lamb's children wanted to hear stories, and therefore Lamb was telling them story. Okay, that is the first story. What is the essay about? Until you reach the end, the essay is about Lamb telling his children a story. Okay, that is what the essay is about. Now the story that Lamb actually tells his children, that story itself becomes therefore the second story within that first story, right? So thus you have got two layers so far. Now because the second story is presented as a story within the first story, therefore we don't really know whether to believe in that or not. Okay, it might be true, it might not be true, it might be, a fiction created just for the children. We don't know. So that story remains a story to the reader. But the fact that Lamb was telling his children a story, you believe in that. You believe in that as if it was real. Okay? Because that is how we enjoy reading literature. So Lamb telling his children a story, that is the first story. The story that is actually told, that is the second story. You had these two layers until you reach the end. Now finally when you reach the end of the essay, suddenly these two stories become become parts of a third story. Okay, now as soon as this third story appears, this third layer appears, what you thought to be the first story earlier, that becomes now the second story, and what you thought to be the second story earlier, that now becomes the third story. Okay, the third layer. And the new layer that appears, the new story that appears at the end, that becomes the first story. Now what is that? What is that first story that opens up to you only at the end of the essay? The first story now stands like this. Lamb was sitting in his armchair, he fell asleep, and then he had a dream, and eventually he woke up and he realized that it was all just a dream. Okay, he did not really have children in his real life. So this is the first story now. Now combining these three layers, if you simply want to summarize whatever you find in the essay called Dream Children to someone else, what would you say? You can simply say that in this essay we have Charles Lamb who falls asleep sitting in his armchair, and then he has a dream, and in that dream he sees that he has children. His children request him to tell them a story, and therefore Lamb in his dream tells the children a story about his own grandmother, and eventually he wakes up and he realizes that he does not really have children, it was just a dream. And that is the point where the essay comes to its end. If you put the whole thing like this, that will be the basic story that Dream Children is about. A man sitting in his armchair, falling asleep, having a dream about his children requesting him to tell them a story. He is telling them a story, and he is waking up and realizing that he didn't really have children. Okay, so this will be something that could be called a story as different from a plot. But then in the actual essay you don't have this whole thing presented like this. Okay, in the essay this story doesn't really begin from the beginning. Okay, it begins in the middle. um, the essay begins within Lamb's dream, and then at the end you have that twist. Okay, because the essay rearranges the events in this way, it is able to play with the belief and expectation of the reader. That's why we can say that what we have in Dream Children is indeed something like a plot instead of having a simple, basic story. If you still don't get the argument, well, I have to be sorry, because I think I can't do anything more than this in a recorded lecture. If I were in a classroom, in an actual classroom, I would be able to make use of the blackboard to illustrate this whole thing, but then I don't have that choice here. So if you find it difficult to follow the argument, it is not that difficult though, but still, if you find it difficult to follow the argument, then I'll simply ask you to replay the whole thing. Because it's a recorded lecture, you have this option of replaying it, so you can try that. So ultimately, the point where I reached through this argument is that what we have in Dream Children is indeed something like a plot. Okay, if you simply construct the basic story out of this plot, that story will not be able to play with the expectation of the reader the way the actual essay is able to do. Okay, if you simply say that in this essay we have Charles Lamb falling asleep in his armchair having a dream. In the dream he tells his children a story, and then he wakes up and realizes that he doesn't really have children. If you put it this way to someone, that reader, that listener will not be surprised at any point of time. Okay, you will not be able to surprise the listener, you will not be able to play with the expectation of the listener. But when you read the actual essay, as a reader you are surprised at the end. As a reader, there's a twist for you at the end. As a reader, you experience that the essay plays with your belief. The belief that you maintained until you reach the end, that belief is simply taken away from you at the end of the essay. Okay, that is why we must say that what you have in this essay is indeed something like a plot and not just a simple story. Now, I hope you remember that I launched this entire discussion because in the book called Eight Essayists, it is said that the personal essay may be distinguished from the short story in two significant ways. In the first place, the short story has a well-knit plot, leaving little scope for digressive passages. The personal essay, on the other hand, may contain a number of episodes written in a rambling style. According to this argument, you're supposed to expect a solid, tightly written plot in short stories, whereas in a personal essay like Dream Children, you may have episodes written in a rambling style. But then I would say that such episodes written in a rambling style are what you find only within the third layer of stories that you find in the entire essay. Now, what was the third layer of stories? What was the third story in the essay? The third story was the one which Lamb tells his children, okay, about their great grandmother Field. So within that story you will find this rambling style, okay, of storytelling. You will find things about Field randomly put in the story. Okay, they are not organized in a tight manner like a plot. But if you consider the structure of the entire essay, you must say that there is indeed something like a plot. There is no denial of that. Now, that passage in the book Eight Essayists continues like this. More importantly, the personal mode is specifically designed for the revelation of the personality of the essayist. This, however, is not the main objective of the short story. So, in a personal essay, you are supposed to find the voice of the writer directly, saying things, revealing things about the writer. So, it is by the writer, about the writer. Whereas in a short story, you're supposed to find the voice of a narrator, not the voice of the writer. Okay, the voice of the narrator that you find in a short story, you cannot immediately confuse that with the voice of the writer. But then it is also not so simple in Dream Children, in Charles Lamb's essays, because Charles Lamb does not write these essays as Charles Lamb, as himself. He writes the essays under the pseudonym of Elia. So he assumes another personality, okay, a fictional personality, and it is with that voice that he writes the essays. Therefore, this argument is not applicable to Lamb's essays so easily, so flatly. So the two grounds on which the book Eight Essayists tries to establish differences between short story and personal essay, both of those two arguments cannot be easily applied to a personal essay like Dream Children. Indeed, the narrative of Dream Children looks like a first person narrative in a short story. But still, as one of my friends once said, you have to call Dream Children a personal essay because Charles Lamb presented the text in that way, presented the text as a personal essay and not a short story. Because this is so interesting, I also discussed this with one of my professors from college, because we share the same interest in psychoanalysis. We are still in good touch and we often discuss a lot of things. So I also discussed this interesting point about Dream Children with him, and what he had to say was that this particular essay, Dream Children, could be seen as an instance of genre bending in literature, okay, or this particular essay could be discussed to highlight the instability of all genres in literature. So if you have to talk about Dream Children as a personal essay in your final exam, you can definitely make a point out of this entire issue, okay. You can definitely talk about this confusion between personal essay and short story, okay, when you take up a text like Dream Children. You can keep in mind just one thing, the rambling style that is characteristic of the personal essay, that is what is dominant in Dream Children. That is what you find almost in the entire essay, except the ending, okay. Because almost the entire essay is made of what we earlier called the third layer of the stories in the essay, the third story in the essay. That is the story that Lamb tells his children. But then the points about the first story and the second story also cannot be ignored. So, to summarize today's discussion, the question was whether Dream Children has only something like a basic story or something as complicated as a plot. Now, the complete story that we find in the essay could be summarized like this. Lamb, falls asleep sitting in his armchair, and then he has a dream. In the dream, his children ask him, to tell them a story, and therefore Lamb tells them a story in his dream. eventually he wakes up and he realizes that he does not have any children. Okay, so the whole story of the essay could be summarized like this. But then what is interesting is that this is not how the whole story is presented to the reader, because if the entire story was presented like this, there will be no surprise, for the reader in the text. The text will not be able to play with the belief, play with the expectation of the reader. That will be to begin at the beginning and end at the end, or end at the end at the ending. Okay, but in the actual essay, the beginning is in the middle of things. Okay, the essay begins in the middle of Lamb's dream, and therefore, towards the beginning of the essay, in fact, from the beginning of the essay up to the very end, we never get a clue about the fact that this entire thing, this entire story actually belongs to a dream. It is only at the end, at the very end, that the truth gets revealed in the form of a twist, and that gives the whole text the look of a plot, the structure similar to a plot, that is able to play with the reader's expectation, that is able to play with the reader's belief, the belief that you maintained throughout the text, that gets shattered at the very end of the text. And then secondly, Lamb's Dream Children cannot be said to be an essay that carries the voice of the writer and that is about the writer. Why? Simply because Charles Lamb writes under the pseudonym of Elijah. Okay, so he assumes a fictional personality, and therefore his voice in the essay, in fact not just in Dream Children, in all the essays, becomes something like the voice of a narrator of a short story. So that's all for this video. I think I have discussed all the important points about the essay, and probably I still have only a few things to say, which I'll try to discuss in the next video. But as I said, most of the important things have already been discussed. So I stop here for this video, and if you have any question, anything that you still couldn't understand, then you can call me. You have my number already in that WhatsApp group, so you can call me and you can clarify anything, any question, any doubt that you have or you might have. Thank you.